Henry More, 1614 to 1687, was a philosopher, theologian, and poet whose intellectual pursuits shaped the mystical yet rational tradition of the Cambridge Platonists. At a time when the scientific revolution and religious orthodoxy clashed, More sought a middle path, blending reason with faith, metaphysics with morality, and science with spirituality. His life and work offer profound lessons on wisdom, virtue, and the infinite nature of the soul. 1. Reason and faith are not opposites, they are complements. More lived in an era when rationalism and empiricism were gaining ground, often at the expense of religious belief. However, he argued that reason and faith were not opposing forces but necessary complements. He believed in the power of rational inquiry while maintaining that divine truths exceeded human comprehension. In his view, reason could lead one to the doorstep of faith, but faith was required to step through and grasp the deeper mysteries of existence. More believed that rejecting faith in favor of pure reason led to an incomplete understanding of reality. Instead, he advocated for a harmony between intellectual rigor and spiritual insight. He drew inspiration from Plato, believing that the material world was only a shadow of a greater, more profound reality. Faith, in More's view, was the bridge to understanding that hidden truth. He encouraged people to question and analyze but never to abandon the sense of wonder and mystery that faith provided. Lesson: true wisdom lies in embracing both reason and faith. We should question, analyze, and seek logical explanations, but also remain open to the mysteries of existence. A life well lived is one that respects both the seen and the unseen. When reason and faith work in tandem, they provide a fuller picture of reality than either could alone. 2. The immortality of the soul, living beyond the material. More was deeply committed to proving the immortality of the soul. He rejected materialism and argued for a spiritual realm that existed beyond the physical world. His work suggests that life is not confined to material existence but is part of an eternal, infinite journey. More viewed the soul as a substance distinct from the body, possessing its own faculties of thought and perception. He argued that if the mind could conceive of infinity, then it must partake in it. His defense of an afterlife was not just theological but philosophical. He reasoned that moral growth and self-improvement made little sense if human existence ended at death. More also saw the soul's immortality as a moral imperative. If our consciousness continued beyond physical death, then our actions in this life had eternal significance. He urged people to live with the awareness that they were shaping not just their immediate reality, but their infinite future. Lesson: live with the awareness that existence is greater than what is seen. Prioritize spiritual growth, cultivate inner virtues, and seek wisdom that extends beyond temporary pleasures. Recognizing the soul's immortality should encourage us to act with purpose and integrity. Each decision we make echoes into eternity. 3. The universe is filled with the divine presence. One of More's most fascinating beliefs was in a spirit of nature, an omnipresent, divine force that governed the universe. This concept was an attempt to reconcile the mechanical philosophy of Descartes with a theistic worldview. More envisioned a cosmos imbued with spirituality rather than a cold, mechanical system. He argued that natural laws were not merely impersonal forces but reflections of divine will. The spirit of nature, according to More, ensured the order and harmony of the universe, acting as a bridge between God and the physical world. This belief was a direct challenge to the growing mechanistic interpretations of reality in his time. To More, the universe was not an indifferent machine but a living, breathing manifestation of divine intelligence. Every atom, every star, every force of nature was an expression of a higher order. The more we understand the cosmos, the closer we come to understanding God. Lesson: the universe is not just a lifeless machine but a living, interconnected whole. See the divine in the ordinary, and approach life with a sense of reverence and wonder. Recognizing the sacred in all things fosters a sense of purpose and connection. The vastness of existence should inspire humility rather than alienation. 4. Virtue is the highest good. For More, virtue was not merely a set of moral rules but the very essence of a good life. He believed that true happiness came from living virtuously, not from external wealth or status. He saw moral integrity as a guiding principle that elevated the soul. More's ethics were deeply tied to his metaphysical beliefs. He argued that because the soul was immortal, its moral choices had eternal consequences. A virtuous life was not just socially beneficial but spiritually necessary. He saw the practice of virtue as aligning oneself with divine will. He also believed that true virtue was not about outward appearances or empty rituals but about inner purity and sincerity. To be good was not just to follow rules but to embody love, justice, and wisdom in one's being. Lesson: cultivate virtue as the foundation of a meaningful life. Kindness, integrity, and wisdom are far more enduring than material success. A person who prioritizes virtue over wealth or power leads a life of true fulfillment. Virtue is its own reward, bringing peace to both the individual and society. 5. The power of the imagination in understanding truth. More saw the imagination as a bridge between the material and the spiritual world. Unlike many rationalists of his time, he acknowledged that imagination and intuition played crucial roles in grasping deeper truths about reality. He believed that rigid rationalism could blind one to higher realities. The imagination allowed people to conceive of possibilities beyond their immediate perception. For More, mystical experiences and visions were not mere fantasies but insights into the deeper nature of existence. He saw poetry, art, and dreams as tools to access hidden knowledge. More was deeply interested in how the subconscious mind could reveal truths that logical reasoning alone could not. Lesson: do not dismiss intuition and imagination as mere fantasies. They can be powerful tools for understanding complex truths that logic alone cannot explain. Creativity and spiritual insight are just as important as empirical knowledge. Honor the mind's ability to explore beyond the tangible. 6. Wisdom comes from a lifelong commitment to learning. Henry More believed that true wisdom was not something one attained once and for all, but rather a continuous pursuit. He was deeply engaged with philosophy, theology, and science, and he never stopped seeking new insights. He saw knowledge as an evolving process, one that required both intellectual curiosity and personal humility. More argued that wisdom was not about accumulating facts but about deepening one's understanding of reality. He believed that the pursuit of knowledge should always be aligned with moral and spiritual growth. To him, learning was not just about the intellect, it was about refining the soul and shaping one's character. He also emphasized that real wisdom required humility, the ability to recognize one's limitations and remain open to new perspectives. Those who think they already know everything are often the ones most blinded by ignorance. Lesson: never stop learning, questioning, and expanding your understanding of the world. True wisdom is a lifelong journey, not a final destination. Stay curious, remain humble, and seek knowledge that enriches both the mind and the soul. 7. The material world is a reflection of the spiritual realm. One of More's central beliefs was that the physical world was not separate from the divine but rather a reflection of it. He saw the material universe as infused with spiritual meaning, much like Plato's idea of a world of forms. The things we perceive with our senses, More argued, are mere shadows of deeper, eternal truths. More believed that recognizing the spiritual foundation of reality could lead to a more meaningful and purposeful life. If the material world is merely a reflection of something greater, then chasing after wealth, status, or fleeting pleasures is ultimately empty. Instead, he encouraged people to look beyond the physical and seek the higher realities that lie beneath the surface. He saw this perspective as a way to balance spiritual devotion with an appreciation of the natural world. By understanding the material world as a divine manifestation, one could appreciate its beauty while also recognizing that it is not the ultimate truth. Lesson: do not get lost in the superficial aspects of life. Recognize that the material world is temporary and that true meaning comes from understanding the deeper spiritual realities it reflects. Seek the eternal rather than the fleeting. 8. True freedom comes from mastery of the self. Many people think of freedom as the ability to do whatever they want. Moore, however, argued that true freedom was not about external circumstances but about inner mastery. A person enslaved by their own desires, fears, and impulses is not truly free. Moore believed that self-discipline, wisdom, and virtue were the keys to genuine freedom. If a person is ruled by their passions, they are at the mercy of external forces. But if they cultivate self-awareness and self-control, they can navigate life with clarity and purpose. This idea aligns with ancient Stoic philosophy as well as Christian thought. Moore saw self-mastery as a path to spiritual enlightenment, as it allowed individuals to align themselves with divine will rather than being controlled by transient emotions or material temptations. Lesson: freedom is not about doing whatever you please, it is about having control over your own mind, emotions, and actions. True liberation comes from self-mastery, not external circumstances. 9. Love is the greatest expression of the divine. For Moore, love was not just an emotion but a fundamental force that connected all things. He saw love as the highest expression of the divine, the energy that bound the universe together. This belief was deeply rooted in Christian theology but also influenced by Platonic philosophy, which emphasized love as a means of ascending toward higher truths. Moore argued that love should guide both thought and action. He saw selfishness and hatred as forces that led to spiritual decay, whereas love elevated the soul and brought it closer to the divine. Love was not just about personal relationships but about a broader sense of compassion, justice, and unity. In a world often driven by ambition, conflict, and division, Moore's emphasis on love as a guiding principle remains profoundly relevant. He encouraged people to practice love not just in their personal lives but in their approach to knowledge, spirituality, and society as a whole. Lesson: let love be the guiding principle in your life. It is the force that connects us to others and to the divine. True wisdom and virtue are impossible without a heart that is open to love. 10. The search for truth requires both courage and humility. Moore understood that seeking truth was a difficult path, one that required both bravery and openness. He lived in an era of intellectual upheaval, where religious doctrines were being questioned and new scientific discoveries were challenging old beliefs. He knew that clinging stubbornly to outdated ideas was as dangerous as recklessly discarding tradition. He encouraged an approach to truth-seeking that was both courageous and humble. Courage was necessary to challenge falsehoods, question authority, and push the boundaries of knowledge. But humility was just as crucial. Without it, one could become arrogant and blind to their own limitations. Moore practiced what he preached by engaging with ideas that were both scientific and mystical. He was not afraid to challenge dogma, but he also knew that truth was vast and complex, beyond the reach of any single perspective. Lesson: seek truth with an open mind and a brave heart. Be willing to question, but also recognize your own limitations. True wisdom comes from balancing courage with humility. Conclusion: embracing Henry Moore's wisdom in a modern world. Henry Moore's life and philosophy offer a powerful blueprint for living with depth, integrity, and purpose. His teachings remind us that reason and faith are not enemies but allies, that the material world is a mere reflection of deeper spiritual truths, and that true wisdom requires humility, courage, and a lifelong commitment to learning. At a time when the world often feels divided between materialism and dogma, Moore's insights serve as a bridge, calling us to seek both knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. He challenges us to cultivate virtue over vanity, self-mastery over indulgence, and love over fear. His belief in the immortality of the soul encourages us to live with purpose, knowing that our actions have eternal significance. Moore's philosophy is not just a relic of the past, it is a guide for the present and future. By embracing his lessons, we can lead lives that are intellectually rich, spiritually fulfilling, and deeply connected to the infinite. In the pursuit of wisdom, virtue, and love, we do not merely follow Moore's path, we create our own, illuminated by the same eternal truths he sought to understand. Let his teachings be a reminder that life is not just about what we know, but about how we live.